Alright, welcome back to another tutorial here. Today what I want to focus on is actually fuel tools. And fuel tools was put or incorporated into Chrome to give users the ability to make adjustment to fuel settings, and then it also gives you the ability to save and recall those settings. So if you've been using Chrome without that setting, then you probably run into issues of getting the correct fuel and or not being able to adjust the few settings after you saved and closed your bin file. So what we want to do here is actually take a look at the field tools, and hopefully it'll give you an idea of what you need to do in terms of properly setting up an injector for the correct injector size. Okay, so let's dive in here. I'm just going to set up a very quick map just to give you an idea of fuel tools so that you can go ahead and set yours up properly. So by default, fuel tool is not installed, okay? It used to be a plugin, but now it's been incorporated into Chrome. So fuel tools will sit right here with another tab here. And for this instance, we don't have it here. So we're going to go ahead and include that. And you do that by going to plugins. Then you want to click on fuel tools. Okay. You want to click OK. And yes, we would like to install. Okay, so that was it. So now when we go back in here, you'll notice that we have this advanced section or advanced tab here, and it gives us the ability to make adjustments or fine tune our large injectors, and then we can save this, and if need be we can actually reopen this and further make adjustments to the settings here. So we have our settings here, and if you take a look at this, it gives you a couple of things here. It gives you the final multiplier, your O2, cranking, post startup, tip in additional, and offset. But in tuning, for the most part, what we're going to be focusing on is the final multiplier, the offset, cranking, and post startup. Okay, so this is crucial if you want to get the air fuel to be on target for both full throttle and also part throttle. Alright, so let's take a look at this here. That way you have an idea of how this works. So for this example, let's take a look at utilizing some RC550. Let's see. So what you should do is look in the advanced table, and we should set the battery offset appropriately. And what you have to do is go into the advanced table and then go to injector battery offset. From this drop down here, you can select the injectors that you have. Okay, so for this example, we're going to go ahead and go with some 550 RCs right here. And being that this is saturated, we'll go with 13 ohms. Okay, so this is the injector battery offset. Now, what we have to do here is we have set the offset. Now we want to set the injector sizing, and you do that through here, of course. Old injector sizing is 240 cc. This new one we just selected is 550. You want to plot that in here. Go ahead and click OK. If you noticed, the coloration actually changed here, and then injector duty cycle also adjusted appropriately. Now what we want to do is we want to go in here, go to the advanced tab, and you notice the final multiplier actually adjusted automatically for us. Now the crucial thing here to get the car to start and run properly is you're going to have to adjust the offset, and the offset is whole numbers. So what you want to do is you want to start off with probably around 20 to 30 as the offset, and then go from there. Try to start your car, and once it starts you want to monitor the air fuel ratio. But first you want to make sure the car is warmed up. Once it's warmed up, and then monitor the air fuel ratio, make sure it's where you need it to be in terms of stoichiometric or 14.7 air fuel. If it's not, you want to play with this and adjust this. Now, this value is a 20, but In actuality, it's actually point 0.2 that's being added to the battery offset, and it's added there. It's added so that the car will start in idle. Okay. Now, once you get that start in idle at 14.7, for the most part, then this would be good to go in a sense. Okay. Next, the O2. I don't really pay attention to the O2 because most of the time it's disabled anyways. We're gonna run off straight off the map, but if you notice that your O2 is off, you may want to come here and adjust this. But for the most part, you can leave that. Now, cranking is one of those critical things here. If you're running larger injectors, say 550, I would probably lower this down to probably a 0.8, maybe 0.7, 0.75, and then start from there. Monitor the air fuel on cranking. Basically, this is the fuel that's being dumped while you are trying to start the vehicle, and for the most part, the ECU still thinks you're running 240cc injectors. So if you don't decrease this after and swapping out your injectors, you're gonna flood your chambers and your sparks, your spark plugs. So what you should do is actually lower this to a smaller number so that you're getting less fuel when you're trying to crank. Try to log the air fuel and monitor this. Monitor the air fuel while making an adjustment to the crank here and see what best fits for you. But for the most part, they're hovering between 0.6 to 0.8 if you're running larger injectors. For post-start is one of those things that the ECU actually base off this post-start value here for the first, say, 30 seconds, after starting up the engine. You may want to adjust this just to see if it affects your air-fuel ratio. Now, if your air-fuel ratio is on target, great. But if it's not on target, then you want to adjust this, and most of the time you may want to decrease it a little bit just to make sure you're not running rich that first 30 seconds. But again, it all depends. So you're going to have to monitor your air-fuel and then adjust this accordingly. Okay, so once you have all this set, the beauty about Fuel Tools is that you can save it, and if you want to or need to, you can actually go back, open this up, and make adjustments as needed. And this wasn't available with the previous version of Chrome. If you weren't running this Fuel Tools, you didn't have this capability, but now that's built in, it's actually a great tool and a great feature. So I'd advise you to make your adjustments here. Once you get this nailed in and locked down, you can then go ahead and start tuning. But until you get that, this outer area figured out, I would advise you on getting that to reach your target air fuel of 14.7 or around 14. It's where most people like it. So once you get it there, then you're pretty much set to go, and you can start tuning out the rest of the area. What I've noticed though is that this part throttle area usually runs okay once you have that nailed down. I mean, it may be off a slight here, but you can probably make adjustments as need be. And then of course full throttle, you're just gonna have to tune that and make a judgment on what fits your needs. But again, guys, that was very short. This is just a quick look at the Fuel Tools and how you can use it to benefit your larger injector sizing. If you have any questions, go ahead and post it on the comments below. Again, if you can, like and subscribe. Thanks.